Welcome, y'all. This October, as we slip into the season of haunted houses and shadowed forests, our practice turns towards the dark itself. What happens when we can't simply flip on the light? When fear, grief, and uncertainty rise up and refuse to be buried? In this new meditation series, we will stop running, turn towards the Underland, and discover what wisdom and healing emerge when we dare to stay present with the shadows. Join me. Welcome. You are listening to Our Mindful Nature, a podcast helping healers and those searching for healing respond to anxiety, overwhelm, or depression with nature-inspired meditations for better mental health. I'm your host and meditation teacher, Meryl Arnett. This podcast is recorded from my live Monday night meditation class. If you would like to access today's meditation practice or nature soundscape as a standalone audio file for your daily use, please subscribe to my newsletter at merylarnett.com. All right, y'all, grab a cup of tea, pop in your headphones, and find a comfy seat. Welcome, you guys. I am so glad to be with you tonight. We are in the month of October. We're sliding into the spookiest time of year, a time of haunted houses, of spidered forests, of dark nights and haints in the hollers. Our natural inclination when we're scared is to turn on the lights, right? To seek what is known, seen, or familiar. But what I want to look at today is what happens when we can't escape the scary. What happens when the doors to the haunted mansion are locked, or we lose the path through the forest? What happens when the chaotic, threatening, overwhelming political choices being made make us feel helpless to respond, to invoke change? What happens when we can't just turn on the light to ease our fears? I think the challenge in these haunted, heavy moments is to acknowledge the dark and stay present to it. I've been reading Robert Macfarlane's Underland recently, and in it he writes, to understand light, you need first to have been buried in the deep down dark. The word understand itself actually means to pass beneath as a way to fully know something. And this is what I'm going to invite for all of us in this new meditation series. We will be acknowledging the Underland that we currently find ourselves in. Underland as a physical under the surface of the earth, as a metaphorical personal underland, or the larger global underland that we are experiencing. And not only are we going to acknowledge this terrain, but you and I are going to commit to exploring it, to knowing it without fear. You know, as a kid, some of you guys have heard this story before. As a kid, I had this very intense, reoccurring nightmare for, I'm going to say years. It might have been months, but it felt like years. And in this nightmare, I was being chased by a faceless man dressed all in black. I could never see who it was, but I could always feel him chasing me, getting closer and closer. And over again, I would dream of this chase and that terrifying feeling that I was about to be caught. And one morning, after having this dream, and telling my parents about it for probably the 1,000th time, my dad said to me, The next time you have this dream, see if you can turn around and see who is chasing you. And the next time I had the dream, I did exactly that. I stopped running and I turned around. And the masked man transformed into a familiar friend of mine at the time. And I never had that nightmare again. So let's stop running and let's turn around together. In Underland, Macfarlane explains that the Underland is a place to dispose of what is harmful. That could be waste or trauma. It's a place to yield what is valuable, minerals, metaphors. And it's a place to shelter what is precious, matter or memories. And I want us to begin this series as a place to look at what we've disposed of, what harmful thoughts, ideas, experiences, materials have we shoved underground so that we wouldn't have to acknowledge it. The dark underground is often a place for the disposal of environmentally toxic waste, right? Nuclear or poisonous materials. There are deep places used to hold or cover up war crimes and acts of genocide, mass graves, either known or unknown. And these deep, dark places also hold our big and our little traumas, the stories that hurt us, that shaped us, that continue to shape us today, perhaps. And as we are so clearly seeing right now, nothing stays buried forever. Glaciers melt, mountains crack and crumble, tectonic plates shift, and slowly, what was under is pushed to the surface, oftentimes under tremendous pressure. And unfortunately, there are those who will fight tooth and nail to shove it back down underground, to dig a deeper hole, to bury what is uncomfortable or painful or shameful. But there are also those of us who are willing to stand at the edge of that dark, rising place. And maybe we sing songs of grief, or write poems, or draw, or weep. There are those of us who know that any hope, any gift, only comes once we've been willing to uncover and face what hurts so grievously. You know, in the tarot, the card that comes to mind for me in this work of acknowledging the harm that has been buried is the Three of Swords. In my favorite deck, this card shows a red heart speared through by 3 swords. The blades are crossed through the center of the heart, and that center is marked with a blue cornflower. This card shows grief and heartache, the heart literally stabbed, but it also shows hope in the blossoming of a flower right at the center, at the nexus of the pain. We must take the time that needs to be taken here. We cannot rush through. We cannot push it down or cover it up. We've got to just settle in. We've got to soften a bit, right? Nothing of value can be yielded through rock-hard walls of resistance or denial. And so we're going to do our first practice in the Underland tonight. We will practice lying down on the earth, or maybe even imagining ourselves in the deep dark, and simply surrendering to what is. The soundscape that I've picked for this series is a soundscape recorded and compiled by nature field recordists and my amazing creative collaborator, Nick McMahon. And this is of the Amazon rainforest, a place of unparalleled beauty and biodiversity and prosperity, but also a place that we could say is maybe scary, from the poisonous to the carnivorous to the eco-anxiety of destruction. The sounds that we hear are beautiful and sometimes loud or a little busy and often unknown to us. And what I'm going to invite is that we open ourselves up to curiosity here. What happens when we choose to linger in this place that feels unknown, maybe a little uncomfortable, and we simply listen? So, let's start. Go ahead and find a comfortable spot for your practice. This could be seated, as we often do, but you also might choose for this practice to lay down. Support yourself with whatever props that you need to be comfortable. You could get a blanket. You could lean back against a wall. Let your arms rest and your legs rest, and maybe close your eyes. And if you prefer, you can always take a soft gaze down towards the ground. And together as a group here, let's begin with a deep breath in. Exhale out a sigh. And when you're ready, we'll do that once more. Inhaling deeply, filling yourself up. And then when you're ready, opening your mouth, letting go of an audible sigh. And then allowing your breath just to flow. And beginning your practice by silently saying to yourself, now is my time to meditate. Now is my time to meditate. And as you say those words to yourself, perhaps you'll acknowledge that there's nowhere we need to run to right now. There is nothing we're going to fix right now. And instead, this is our time to simply be here. It doesn't actually matter how comfortable or uncomfortable, how peaceful or how noisy. It doesn't really even matter how enjoyable or unenjoyable this feels in this moment. This is simply an invitation to be right here with what is. And so I wonder if you can allow your body to soften a bit. Just scan through and see if you notice any tension. Maybe in your eyes or your jaw. Maybe across your shoulders or through the center of your chest. Perhaps you can soften any gripping in the belly. In the hips or the thighs. As you invite that sense of softness through the body, let's simply turn our awareness towards the breath. And so you'll start to feel yourself breathing in and feel yourself breathing out. And along with every breath, you'll notice the sounds of the dark rainforest around you. You'll notice the thoughts and the stories in your mind. And over again, we will simply practice coming back to the next breath. And inviting ourselves to linger a little longer in this underland. Let's settle in for about 7 minutes in silence. Feeling your breath. Noticing what arises. And then seeing if you can stay for just another breath more. Gently feeling your breath here. Maybe noticing if you've tensed up or run away in some manner. See if you can linger just a moment more as your breath starts to deepen. As you wiggle into your fingers and your toes, feeling those edges. And then together as a group here, taking a deep breath in and exhaling out a sigh. Taking all the time you need to let go of today's practice and to open your eyes if they were closed. Thank you for listening and for being willing to explore the Underland with me. In today's episode, we talked about the Underland, both the physical, the caves, the burial sites, as well as the metaphorical, the unconscious. And we really looked at least in this first episode, what we might have disposed of in these dark places. What did we bury? What did we hide? What did we ignore that needs our attention, even if it hurts a little bit? I hope you'll stick with me for this series. Next Thursday, next episode comes out, and we will be talking about what happens next. So we've stayed, right? We're willing to be in this uncomfortable or spooky, scary sort of place. And what happens when we soften enough to yield some of the value of being here? So join me next week as we continue our exploration of the Underland. Thanks. Thanks for listening to Our Mindful Nature. If you would like to receive today's meditation practice and nature soundscape as standalone audio files for your daily practice, please subscribe to my newsletter at merylarnett.com. It's free and you'll receive a new practice each week. Our Mindful Nature is recorded on Muskogee land and is produced with the support of Nick McMahon and Brianna Nielsen. Deep gratitude is offered to acoustic ecologists Nick McMahon and Gordon Hempton for the use of their nature field recordings in many of these episodes. We release a mini episode that's just the meditation, no chatter beforehand, every Monday. And every Thursday, we release a full episode with a meditation class or interview. I look forward to practicing with you again soon.